Boi. Come. Bashalan. In the peace. Atele. Putting crown on. Byler. Her husband. Boi Kailar. Come bride. This is a beautiful Hebrew wedding song, as if the angels in heaven are calling for the bride who has been waiting for 6,000 years to stand up bravely and put on the crown of glory for the coming King of Heaven.
Hello everyone, welcome to Enoch Talk Show. Today we continue the story of Jacob, part 18. The mystery of the Star of David is deep. Who can understand Jacob's ladder? Churningly and bumpingly run to the God's temple, who knew that Jacob's family got bad name. How tough and sad was Jacob's whole life? Who could see the joy in it? When David and Joseph join together, the heaven will welcome the sons of Zila. In the last few parts we talked about the two nations are in the belly of Rebekah. We also went into detail about the meaning of the names Jacob and Esau. Jacob deceived the birthright with red bean soup. Jacob cheated the blessing. These two cheats are double quotation marks, referring to the eyes of people on earth. We talked about Jacob's double marriage and sister's jealousy. Jacob's scheme and Laban's 10 times altered Jacob's wages. Rachel nearly died from the idol Laban chased after Jacob's family to kill them. Esau was so angry to come to kill Jacob, and the angel stopped this mighty tiger. Shechem raped his beloved, and was destroyed by his own evil. Jacob's roar shook the kings, 100 against hundreds of thousands. Joseph was lost, Jacob was in tears and turned to stone in despair. Joseph shook the four corners in the kingdom. Jacob waked up and reunited with Joseph. Jacob complained that the years were shortened, and blessed Joseph with deep mysteries. Jacob blessed his 12 sons and Esau was beheaded before the entrance of the cave. Okay. Let's talk about it from beginning. In the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. Of course it's not like this. It means heaven is above. Earth is below. This is what see. From the heaven, in the eyes of God and angels, and in our eyes. The heaven wraps the earth. So we know the mystery of the Star of David. It is also the link after God repairs the broken leg, no longer like two cherubim, face to face and hand to hand, but in the form of the iron triangle. God the Father with Isaac are above, in heaven. The son of Jesus and Abraham are below, on the ground. In their vision Christians saw the majestic old man with white hair, and they thought him as Jesus. When the Israelites saw the old man with white hair in their vision, they thought him as Abraham. In fact, what they saw was as what Enoch saw, the head of days in the book of Enoch. The united oneness of Jesus and Abraham both divided and fully merged. Of course, Enoch saw Jesus in both forms of the young kid and the majestic gray-haired after Jesus had accomplished his task on the earth. That was why Jesus was so surprised, those who challenged him about his knowing of Abraham. Jesus had been so familiar with Abraham, and Abraham respected Jesus so much. But who would be those people? They claimed to know Abraham and as his descendants on the earth, and they didn't know anything about the heaven. They were not from the heaven, so knew almost nothing about Abraham. And the entity in the middle, i.e., two triangles, will be Jacob, which is the nation of Israel, Jacob's ladder. The iron triangle entities in the heaven are Moses, manager, personnel management, Aaron, priest, managing the relationship with God, David, king and commander, responsible for daily operations. These are the official positions, and all held by the Abraham family. The iron triangle entities on the earth are Enoch, manager, personnel management, Elijah, priest, managing the relationship with God, Joseph, king and commander, responsible for daily operations. Enoch and Moses also had a double triangle relationship. So did David and Joseph. Actually, David's name is David.
David, Taret, Daled v, Vav. Daled, Taret.
Hebrew letter, Dalet. The ancient alphabet pictograph represents the door. D in English also like a door. Vav is a pin. In ancient times, referring to connection and fixation. Modern is nail style. So the name David means tighten the two doors tightly. Adam's house and Abraham's house. The same is true for the Star of David. Now we should understand that if the Adam family had not sinned, they would not have had to come to earth at all. In the Garden of Eden, the two families united each other and eventually became one, the latter to connect earth and heaven. But when Adam's family fell into sin, Abraham led the whole family into the sin world to save the sinners of Adam's family. They voluntarily brought God's light, the Torah, to seek the heel of Adam's family in the darkness here, which God told them the heel will be Jacob in Adam's family, i.e., the zila, God hide in the body of Eve. Through the efforts of 3 generations of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the prototype of Jacob's ladder had been completed. Next step, Jacob volunteered to give blessing of many nations and knowing the living water of life taught by Jesus to Adam's family. His family was willing to be in a single nation, and they will know the living water, until the little heel represented by Joseph will appear and rescue Jacob's family once again in the doomsday. Every true Israelite family will be saved from this great darkness of doomsday during the tribulation time. So, we must clearly understand that it is not that we are smarter and more capable than the Israelites, but Jacob chose this ending, which means that Jacob chose the veil placed on the face of the house of Israel. In fact, when the Israelites came to this world of sin, Adam's world, which they didn't need to come at all in the first place, because they didn't sin, but it was Adam's family who fell into sin. Secondly, for the sake of fairness, God allowed Satan to plant its own seeds in the house of Israel, for seeds from Adam family to one from true Israelite, so it increased dramatically the difficulty to figure out who is who. Furthermore, when the Israelites came to rescue the zila of Adam's family from sin, they had to learn not to sin first. Otherwise, they would be drowned in the sin and not able to save Adam's family. So, throughout the time of the Old Testament, God recorded the entire process of training the Israelites not to sin. It was not until they were ripe that Jesus came to declare the wheat is ripe, and then the heaven began to save Adam's family like fishing fish. Jesus was indeed killed by the Israelites, but these killers were in high positions, and not the true Israelites, rather, from the Adam family, who did the killing, so God would have no reason to punish the true Israelites for the sins of the Adam family. Furthermore, the true Israelites volunteered to come to save Adam's family, so God has the obligation to train them and make sure that none of them will be lost in the end, and God has the capability to ensure that. It's just that in the process, they may also sin, and as long as they end up on the doomsday ark and become a shoulder in the ark, they will be free of sin and be saved. The most important thing is that the circumcision in the Spirit will be carried out in the doomsday ark, and finally everyone becomes one shoulder, the shoulder of Jacob, and will no longer sin anymore. It will not be a pair of shoulders, one for Jacob, one for Adam, but one shoulder, the only one of Jacob. It will not be shoulder by shoulder as translated in most of scriptures. These details will be discussed when we tell the story of Noah. Would you still reject the Israelites because they were unlovable? They jumped into the sin world of Adam to save us, and finally, because of Jacob's choice, they lost their way and looked like sinking, and we also woke up because of Jacob's choice. Are you going to leave Israelite to sink, and go straight to Jesus? Choice 1, or to give up your life to save the Israelites? Choice 2, to those who have chosen the former case, God has made Satan the devil to play the role of a fake Jesus, who was looking better than true Jesus in those people's eyes, and finally they will fall from the rainbow bridge to the hell. To those who select the latter one, God will let the awakened Israelites protect us like protecting their wives, and eventually take us back to the heaven. Here we want to talk about a place that was extremely damaging to the reputation of the true Jacob family, but was often deliberately mistranslated. Genesis 37 verse 2, God specifically told us that Joseph was always with the sons of the maidens, not Leah's 6 sons, bringing report their evil deeds to his father. But in translation, the maid is often ignored, and the emphasis is on reporting the evil deeds of all old brothers to the father. Storytellers like to add up their emotions so that everyone can understand why these brothers sold Joseph. But God's scriptures cannot be emotionally charged. Any translation in such a way leaves two traps in people's minds at once. Firstly, God did not record all the faults of the Jacob family clearly, so God also concealed some wrongdoing from the true Jacob family. In fact, the sons of maidens were from the family of Adam. Sons from Leah are true Jacob, digging deeply into every fault they had. It is often we fill in our unknown with much worse possible scenarios, and this ultimately mislead us to have wrong impression about the true Jacob's family. Secondly, Maiden's sons were no different from Leah's ones. They were all Joseph's brothers, and all had evil deeds, and Joseph had reported their evil deeds. For us Gentiles, there are not many opportunities to reach out to the Jews. The Europeans, even if they had the chance, would misunderstand all of them because of the behavior of some of the Jews, actual Adam family, 4-1. Here, in fact, God the Father uses these specific words to tell us, don't superficially judge the true Jacob, sons of Leah, because of the evil deeds of the Adam's family. If God hadn't recorded every fault of the true Jacob and written clearly on the Torah, Satan would have already attacked. At the same time, if God also wrote down the evil things that sons from maidens did, it would have violated the rule that God did not record almost all evil things did in Adam's family, and Torah did not mention these at all, even many great evils, only described vaguely in the whole group level. When Cain killed Abel, Torah only mentioned the fact that Cain, from family of Adam, killed Abel, from family of Abraham, and mentioned just one superficial reason, gift. The Israeli rabbi commented that the real reason for Cain may be that the wife of Abel was more beautiful than his own wife, that is, the second daughter Rachel is more beautiful than her elder sister Leah. This could be the real motive, because for a person who does not respect God, he often chooses to ignore God's attitude towards him. We can see from a good piece of evidence for us to distinguish sons from Leah from others, but totally lost because of this confused sentence, and we translated it as the evil deeds of all sons of Jacob. Of course, because the fact that all elder brothers involved in selling Joseph, this was enough to condemn all the elder brothers, so this confusion was often ignored by us. But when we tell the story of Joseph, we will know the details from the oral Torah. It is precisely because of the details of the oral Torah that the Israelites would not fall into these traps in the Torah when they read the scriptures. From Abraham onwards, God recorded every shortcomings, and even many concealed evils from the family of Abraham. But for the family of Adam, never recorded details of evil actions to an individual, very often just vague action to the whole group. In the end, every reader thought that Esau was much more upright than Jacob, and that God saved Jacob the liar to demonstrate the salvation of Jesus to save the villain. This subconsciousness is the real reason for the loss of billions of Rachel's descendants. The record of Paul and the Virgin Mother finally aggravated this subconsciousness, and these have been also the center of Satan's plot. In fact, God plans to put all those who are unwilling to approach the house of Israel into Satan's traps. Those who believed in the New Testament and wanted to brainwash the Israelites were ultimately excluded because their arguments were ignored by the Israelites and directly told them that Paul's teaching was a savior without eyes. Even if Jews live in Christian villages, they are not as zealous in preaching as Christians, because they understand that respect for others is the first element and the foundation for love, and any precious gem should not be revealed to any person who does not appreciate it. This was also what Jesus told his disciples. Preaching by forcing has been a great feature of Paul's doctrine, especially during the period of the unity of politics and religion, which eventually led to 1,000-year darkness and 1,000-year persecution of the Jews. Even in the doomsday, the house of Israel, the 6 tribes from Leah, will go 2 by 2 to every corner of the world, and preaching the Hebrew Torah throughout the world, they will not use force on others, but only tell to the family of Adam who wants to know, and they will not use any language other than Hebrew, but only preach God's Torah scriptures in the holy language. This was exactly what Jesus said. When scriptures have been spread to the every corners of the earth, he will come again, the second coming. In the past few thousand years, God had made the story of Abraham known to the whole world through the believers who read either Paul's teaching or Islam who read half of Genesis, but these have been just to pave the way for doomsday, which is similar to Elijah, who will be also paving the way for true believer. Eventually, the Israelites understood God's purpose, which is through the work of the devil to pave the way for true believer. If you accept the above, are paving the way, let's take a look at the ending of Esau and the tribe of Dan. God created Esau with a purpose: he would kill King Nimrod. We can see the vision Daniel from the scriptures. I watched then because of the sound of the pompous words which the horn was speaking. I watched till the beast was slain, and its body destroyed and given to the burning flame. As for the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. Daniel 7 verses 11 to 12 NKJV. Obviously, the first 2 sentences and the last 2 refer to the situation in which Daniel saw the union of Abraham and Jesus opening the book of life, and the 2 sentences refer to the fact that he saw the little horn kill the beast with cursed words. You must know that the beast is the eldest son of Satan, the one who seduced Adam in the Garden of Eden, and eventually became a beast without hands and feet. That means it was Jacob, i.e., the little horn, who killed the beast. So will Esau, or Esau's heel, i.e., Jacob, do this? In fact, what Esau will do is to fulfill the real entity of that Esau killed Nimrod, the king on the earth, that is, Esau killed the beast in the doomsday. God originally gave the earth to Adam's family. Adam's eldest son, Cain, understood this very well, so he said to Abel, whose name means heir, "If you don't touch my land, I will not kill you today." Abel ignored him, because everything belongs to God, and eventually Cain killed Abel from behind and buried him in the ground. Many rabbis in Israel believe that Abel was ultimately Moses because both were the most humble. Indeed, Abel became Moses, Cain became Korah, and finally Moses prayed to God, and God buried Korah alive into the ground and let him taste what he had done to Abel. So in the end, God will let Adam's eldest son Cain become Esau, and finally avenge the deceived and kill the beast. This is the retribution that the beast deserves. Esau and Jacob of Adam's house will first stay together, both in Enoch's team, and finally they will go separated paths. Daniel didn't understand this plan, and this will only be clarified at the doomsday. Do you still think that the baby boy, who jumped out of his mother's womb first, described in Revelation 12, who will brutally rule over all nations with an iron rod, will be Jesus? Why not Esau, the eldest son of Adam's family, will finally smash the nations with an iron rod and rule over them for 3.5 years? Do you think it is a nice image for Jesus to rule over the nations with an iron rod for 1,000 years? Everyone should think about it, because there will be no time for you to think about it when you have to make a decision of life or death immediately, so all depend on how well you prepare yourself. Let's go to the last question. But what about killing Esau? We have to see Isaac's blessing to Esau. Then Isaac his father answered and said to him, "Behold, your dwelling shall be of the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. By your sword you shall live, and you shall serve your brother. And it shall come to pass, when you become restless, that you shall break his yoke from your neck." Genesis 27 verses 39 to 40 NKJV. From the ending of Esau, we now understand that he broke free from Jacob's yoke, but immediately separated his head and body. It turned out that he died at the hands of the descendants of the Dan tribe. Let's look again at Jacob's blessing to Dan. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, a viper by the path, that bites the horse's heels, so that its rider shall fall backward. I have waited for your salvation, O Lord. Genesis 49 verses 16 to 18 NKJV. Both the serpent and the snake refer to Satan, and the horse's hoof refers to the back heel of the horse, which means Jacob, the heel, and also indicates that Dan tribe's action will cause Jacob, who will be galloping with the horse, to fall to the ground. Think of the following 7 aspects. 1. We know that, in the doomsday, the Dan tribe will betray Jacob's family and made Jacob fall off his horse, and finally lead Jacob's family to trap in the situation like what Job experienced. This for us will last for 180 days, that is, half a year, double the duration Job experienced. 2. The Dan family did not appear in the book of Revelation, because the firstborn Adam was lost, so the eldest son born to maidens will be also lost in the doomsday. 3. The Dan family did indeed lose the land promised to them by God because of their worship of false gods in the Old Testament era. 4. God commands us not to judge others until the time of judgment appointed by God. It's like eating the forbidden fruit, you must not eat it until the time comes. Consequently, Dan tribe will judge Jacob's family, so Jacob will be in danger. In the end, Jacob exclaimed in his blessing, "O Lord, I have always waited for your grace." Indeed, at doomsday, it will be the Queen of the South, the Queen of Sheba, who will save the house of Israel. This is also the true entity that King Solomon encountered, the Queen of Sheba. Without this presence, it would be difficult for the house of Israel to reach its final destination. To the house of Israel, the woman, i.e., the queen, represents the family of Adam, and therefore will be the king of the house of Adam, once again come to rescue the house of Israel who fall from the horse. We don't know yet who will be this queen. 5. God will finally kill Esau through the rebellion of the Dan tribe, so that Esau will deserve what he will deserve. And the group who killed Esau, the family of Satan, the Dan tribe, and the family of Adam who will win the battle at the end of the doomsday, will all be smashed into hell by 7 meteorites. This is what Daniel said until the appointed time and day. 6. We understand now, but the killing of Esau destroyed the harmony between the Jacob family and the Esau family for decades, and was also the direct reason for the killing of each other in the following decades. Reconciling the two families will eventually be destroyed by the sword of Dan's son. If he didn't do it, God would still have let Esau die at the mouth of the cave, just as God did with Laban, making him seriously ill and died in a short period of time. It was his destiny that Esau died at the entrance of the cave, because Esau in the doomsday will die right before dawn, on the eve of peaceful millennium. During Abraham time, whoever was buried in that cave immediately ascended to heaven to stay with God. Satan didn't tell Esau the truth until the last moment, which also foreshadowed that when the door of the ark was closed by 2 kings, David and Joseph, Paulists all over the world would rush to the door and want to squeeze in. At this time, it will be too late to believe. The mystery of the cave of Abraham, we will detail in the story of Abraham. 7. We should also know from Scripture that God let Moses avoid Edom, that is, the descendants of Esau, that God is not pleased with the conflict between Jacob's family and Esau's family. The act of the son of Dan to kill Esau was by no means pleasing to God. Now we should understand that Esau has his mission, just as Dan has his mission, as Satan has his mission, and in the doomsday neither of them can enter the shalom. All will die in the big meteorite impact in 2031. All over the earth, except for the house of Israel, who will be pulled out of hell by God, and the zira of Adam's house, who will be grabbed by Israelites, they will also escape the hell. These are recorded in the 33rd chapter of the book of Numbers in the Torah as the names of stations along the journey of Exodus. When we tell the story of Moses, we will analyze it in detail. All other living creatures will die in the fires of hell. So those rich men, no matter how strong and perfect their shelters will be, these can't save them. Those who want to escape by using the way of interstellar travel will also fall and die. We don't need to worry, because in the end God will pull the house of Israel out of hell. This is what God must do, so those dumbest fish entangled in Israel's wire become the smartest. Go and read the first and second stories of the new idiom story. Are you still struggling with these things? Many people think, what's so good about Israelites? Are they not very confused and lost? So, there's no need to spend time with them, or throw them what you think of as a Jesus lifebook, just let them do what they like. Then in the end God will treat you the same way you have treated Israelites. So, when you finish listening to this series, if you wake up, you have to let go everything else, but seek God's guidance. There is really not much time left for us. Thank you all for listening to the first series of Enoch Talk Show, The Story of Jacob. Then there will be a second series, The Story of Abraham, which has a lot of details, for example, how Nimrod persecuted Abram. Abram was in the furnace for 3 days and 3 nights, like Daniel's 3 companions. Many details allow us to understand Abraham better. We talk about other people one by one: Isaac, Moses, Job, plus what we see in our spirits. I hope these is introduction which may attract you as a better way to lead us, and in the end we will all finally return to the Garden of Eden. Jacob's life was really rough. Within the womb already full scars. Let Esau have the firstborn right and almost impossible to take it back. Finally Jacob needed to use deceit to pick it up, which will be blamed for thousands of years. At the age of 77, he was still poor. At 99, he was still penniless. Jacob got rich in 6 years, shocked Laban, and Laban blamed him stealing his money. How could the world know godliness, and falsely blame saints as liars? Everywhere Jacob went, disasters were waiting there. And the 6-day bloody battles settled the world in peace. Who could have thought that Joseph was betrayed by his brothers? Brought grief and pain on Jacob for 20 years. The years of famine had turned the world upside down. And great blessings revealed beyond the wildest dream. Final blessings were given to every son who can understand the deep mystery. At the doomsday, Enoch received the divine scepter, and the heaven and the earth will be full of blessings. Who can recognize the rod of Jacob? The mysteries of heaven and earth will be revealed instantly. Who can know when the door of the ark will open? And all kings will enter and the show will start. The mystery of the Star of David is very deep. And who can understand Jacob's ladder? Toss and turn, jolt and bump toward the God's temple. Who could know the world label notoriety on him? So sad was Jacob's whole life. Who has known the joy in it? When David and Joseph will join hands, the heaven will welcome the return of Zerah. Thank you all for listening to the Enoch Talk Show. I hope you will listen to it in order. See you next time.